Hey, everybody. Welcome back. We didn't talk about it, but I think it's my turn. So welcome to the Cray Show with Chris and JRuss.
Hey, everybody.
And my little bird, Chicken Hawk, is currently sitting right here chewing on something, and I'm sure she'll make an appearance here in a little while. How's it going, Chris?
Good, man. Yeah. We were just talking a minute ago. I mean, this is not for JRuss, for all you listeners. Before we started recording, we were talking about just life and different stuff going on with me and JRuss, and uh, I don't want to get deep into it, but just what we were talking about a second ago, JRuss, with competition and frustration and anger, and when you get in the midst of competition, you just want to win so bad, and you can't. You're losing, and especially when the other team is not, they're taunting you, they're not being good winners. That just makes it so frustrating and difficult. And just so for all the listeners, we had a soccer game last night and had a lot of aggression on both sides, and not violence, but just it was not a positive atmosphere for anybody involved, and just left a real bad taste in my mouth. And so we were talking about that a second ago, just saying how just wish that it's hard also when you see the adults, coaches, and parents encouraging that type of behavior and encouraging aggression and trying to escalate a situation to make it worse. It's just not enjoyable at all. So we're just talking about that.
I mean, yeah, that's a pretty deep conversation, and I think some existential questions about what are you competing for. It is interesting to me that, especially because I just cherish the idea of competition. And I also, after so many years of it, I really look at the people that I'm competing against, even though I think I've talked about this on the podcast before, the reverence that I feel for my fellow competitors, whether they're up against me or they're just competing at something else or whatever. But I mean, if you think about VFS in particular, there's like 50 people in the world who give a shit about VFS. And, the idea of that incredibly tiny community that I'm going to get angry at somebody that I'm competing against for, I mean, they have dedicated some kind of equal amount of time that I have. They've given up their life. They've given up parts of their relationship. They've traveled, they've spent money. Like all of these things that they've done that I've done. Doesn't their sacrifice and effort validate mine? Do I really want to start talking shit to those people? And I mean, that is a part of competition, because that is of how a lot of people look at it. But I've had teammates who are like that. They want to talk shit to the other team and boo them, and I want to have a great comp. I want you to do your best, and I want me to do my best, and I want to be better than you. But at the end of the day, we're both doing something that we're passionate about, and should be a positive experience. And I don't like to lose either. I want to win, but I don't want to win because I committed psychological warfare on my teammate or competitors, or threw a punch, or I mean, and I've done that in my past, but it wasn't in a competitive setting. So
what do you think? So you weren't always like, you didn't always have that attitude with competition, right? I mean, like, was there a time when you were more like win at all costs or whatever? Maybe not at all costs, but what helped you have that mindset that you have now, that viewpoint?
This is actually a difficult question when you do some introspection about how is it that you are you. And I have never been a shit talker. I have never been the guy that showed up and was like, I'm going to beat your ass, or you suck, or any of that. Not since I was a little kid. And I have to assume that, I mean, my dad was super competitive, and I have to assume that some of it came from him, but I didn't get to see him in a setting of, I mean, I knew he was competitive because of some of the like interactions that we had, and the way that he encouraged me. I wouldn't say it was pressure, but encouraged me to be in sports and do my best. And but also like the situation that you're talking about, there's no way my dad would have taunted other parents. There's no way that my dad would have encouraged me to fight with somebody over an athletic event. No way. And
Mm-hmm.
so probably a lot of it at least started on that, or seeing that um, respect for other competitors. Um, yeah, I've never been that way in sports. Always I want to win, but I, the other thing is, and this is kind of a, I mean, across my life, fairness is a really big issue. I want things to be fair,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that. I mean, it's a pretty common expression that life is not fair, and there's ways that you can say that. Like I certainly won the lottery on where I was born, um, my skin color, socioeconomic class, even though it's middle class, like that's a win for a lot of people. Life's not always fair, but in everything that I'm gonna do, you are gonna get a fair shake with me. Like the idea of cheating is so repulsive to me as a person that I want things to be fair. So just there, I'm recalling like a wrestling match where my teammate, who was also my good friend, got hurt. He was battling a knee injury, and he went out and wrestled anyway, and it got tweaked, and he couldn't continue. And the parents on the other team, the other side, booed him. He's laying on the mat, like holding his knees, and tears like blew his knee, and they're booing him. And I remember my coach walked out on the mat, and he just looked up at him, and he mouthed the word assholes. And and I was just stunned at, like I was, I don't know, 14, maybe 15, but watching adults act like that, and I was like, man, he's hurt. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what are you doing right now? Just it really took me away from the wrestling match, and it was a, it was a one-on-one. We ended up beating their school, but man, that behavior was repulsive.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really like hearing your story. I think that it's one thing for 16, 17-year-old boys to have some testosterone going through their veins. It's another thing for the people who are supposed to be the cooler heads in that situation to not only not squash it, but encourage it. And
Yeah.
that's weird.
Yeah. I really like what you said a second ago about your competitors' time and effort and everything they've put into trying to be their best. That validates your effort. That's a very good perspective. I think I never thought of in those terms, and I have thought about like when I compete at anything, I I want to win against somebody who's doing a good job, who's
Yeah.
playing well. Like that is not fun to me to like beat somebody who's no good. Like, what's the point? Like, that's not good for me. It's not good for them. It's not like why, you know? Um, but when you play someone, say soccer, you play a team and they're just really good and you're playing your best, you're playing your heart out and you win. Like that's some of the greatest, especially when both teams have good attitudes and they're just giving their all, playing their best, really good, a really good game and you win. Like that just is so great. And even in those times when you lose, sometimes that's great too because you know that you played well and they won but they were good sports and you were good sports and like that spirit of competition to me is so enjoyable. um I like that, but when people are being jerks and like why, what's the point? Like, but I've been a jerk plenty of times, so what can I say?
You know that there's a really famous quote. I think it was from originally from Teddy Roosevelt about, um, I think JFK put it into one of his speeches. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena. Do you know that quote?
Mm-mm.
It, it's a bit long, but I'm pretty sure I can get it all. It says that the credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, who um, spends his time on a worthy cause, who basically gives up blood and sweat and tears, and he dares greatly.
Mm.
And if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly. and his place will never be among those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat.
Okay, a
And
couple
I
of those
didn't get it
lines
quite
sound
right. It's
familiar.
really good, and
Yeah.
it's timeless. Like it, you need to go and put in your effort, and it's something that is maybe not super present in society these days. Not everybody gets a gold star, but
Mm-hmm.
you can feel the reward of you tried and you gave it your all, and if the other team's better, they're better,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then you've got work to do. And as an interesting current events, there was a competition in Imperia Brava called the Win Games that happened about a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Their Polish VFS team is only a tunnel team. We would not beat them right now, and we're pretty rebuilding right now, and we've gotten to 2 tunnel sessions in the year that we've been together, and they have been flying together for 4 or 5 years, and they do hundreds of hours a year just tunnel. And if anybody wants to look, you can look on intimescoring.com at the Win Games. They are as good as any VFS team I have ever seen in the tunnel. Uh, and the knowledge that we would not win right now is motivating.
Hmm.
And I haven't honestly felt that for a while. Like, hey, they're better than us. Um, and I saw one of the guys on the team, the guy that we probably know best. His name's Tomsky at the Head Up Record. He's a super good flyer and really nice guy. And he they won the world meet, the indoor world meet, when we weren't able to go. Our team drama prevented us from going. And he said, when we saw him, he was like, "Guys, are you coming back around?" And we said, "Yeah, for sure." And he's like, "Thank God." I had to laugh because I knew exactly where he's going.
Yeah,
He said, "We don't want to win because you weren't there. We want to win because we beat the best."
that's
And
cool.
it's so refreshing to see that attitude. Uh, they were mortified that we weren't going to come around again, and these, like, we've beat them a couple of times in the past. They want a shot at the title, and that's absolutely what they deserve.
Yeah,
And
and
I've
that's got to
talked
make you feel good.
for sure. And I know, like, when we were finally getting what we called a good level of VFS, and we had started smacking the French team around, and we couldn't compete with them because we came back to the US and you have to sit out one world meet, and then they quit. And man, that was super disappointing.
Mm.
Um, they wanted to go out on top, and a lot of people feel that. Um, and I do. I guess I do too. But I want to. I want to. I want to keep going while my body's capable of doing it, and while I can do it at the right level. And if we lose to the Polish team, which is a very real possibility, we need to work harder. But
Yeah.
I'm not going to start calling those guys assholes. They have worked so hard to get where they
Mm.
are.
Yeah, and there's something I don't know. I mean, I think I tend to blame a lot of things on culture and society and stuff. So I don't know if that's the right thing to say, but just the idea of going through, like struggling through losing, that has value.
For sure.
And I think it's easy to forget that. Maybe I should say it that way. It's easy to forget that losing has value and that there is good stuff in that. And like my son, he's a freshman in college now, but he played soccer. I coached him for the past 4 years while he was in high school, and he was our keeper. And his freshman and sophomore year, we just got destroyed every single game. And I think I've told you this before, but like, I mean, he would get 30 to 40 shots on him every single game. And we were losing games like 8-0, 10-0, 6-0, 12-0. Like it was terrible. But those 2 years, he saw so much soccer, so many shots, so many shots, so many shots. I mean, he became a phenomenal goalkeeper. And his junior and senior year, I think he was hands down the best keeper in our division, in our league, but it was because he went through the 2 sucky years of getting
Yeah.
destroyed. It made him so good. Um, And I think I don't know if it's human nature. I don't know where we get it, but I think for a lot of us, we just don't want to go through that. People don't want to deal with the struggle of getting beat, of not being good, and what it takes to go through that. Did I tell you about that video game that I've been playing lately?
No, but
Rocket
you
League.
showed me the controller when we got on. I was really excited. You're playing a video game.
Yeah, I've been playing this game, Rocket League. Have you ever heard of it?
Oh yeah, yeah. You did tell me
I
that
did tell you.
the
Okay.
cars and soccer and
Yeah.
yeah.
It's soccer with cars. But I play online, and so I like to play 2-on-2. So whenever I play online, I'm just every single match I'm getting paired up with a new teammate. Um, Sometimes I'll like team up with somebody that I know and we'll play together, but most of the time it's just some random person I'm getting paired up with. And I've noticed that when we start off, if we get scored on quickly, this happens so often, JRuss, like 80% of the time. My teammate, we get one goal scored on us. My teammate will immediately want to forfeit the match.
Yeah.
Immediately, instantaneously, they want to quit. And I was talking with my son Tegan, because he plays it a lot and he's really, really good at it. And he said it doesn't matter what level you're at, people do that. And I was like, that doesn't make sense to me, because if I only play matches where I'm winning, then it's going to take me forever to get better, because I'm only willing to play people that I'm better than, right? Like,
Yeah.
how can I get better if I'm not playing people that are better than me? And if I'm going to play people that are better than me, guess what?
You're gonna
They're going to
lose.
win. I'm going to lose. And so I've had countless matches where my teammate will quit. They'll leave the match. And so now it's 1 against 2 and I just get destroyed.
Yeah,
But
of course.
I'm like, hey, I'm getting better. Like,
Yeah.
how else am I going to do it? You know? But I don't know if I don't know where that's coming from for a lot of people. Just quit, just give up, you know?
Man, I don't want to get into a big commentary about society, but you're 40,
46.
46, and that's it, man. You grew up in an era that winning and losing was just part of life.
Mm.
And your parents knew that it was part of your growth and development, and that's okay. And we're in an era now where losing is, and no, we're not going to keep score. Everyone's gonna everyone's
So
gonna
stupid.
get a trophy at the end, and
Eh,
I don't know if that's good or bad.
it's not
I
good.
only know that I
It's not
like,
good.
man, Chris, I was thinking about that exact thing because last night, the last game I played of Dota, I usually play a game or two before I go to bed. The, things didn't go our way in the first 5 minutes of an hour long game. And one of the guys called GG, which, like, good game. Like,
Yeah.
the game's over, we lost. And the next time I died, you get a respawn timer, and I had about 30 seconds. So I just typed in there, like, you picked a bad hero. You're calling GG. What was the point of you getting in this game? Like, do you realize how destructive that is to the team and
Mm.
psyche of we would like to still win this match? Like, if that's yours, just be quiet. Don't say that to your teams because you are destroying whatever
Mhm.
chance we have. Everyone's just like, oh yeah, this one guy's going to quit. And I can stop playing or whatever. And people do that all the time. They leave the match. And I'm like, but the thing you got to remember, which I always have to remember, the other end of that computer is a 15-year-old,
That's
who
exactly right.
grew up with everybody gets to win, everybody gets a gold star, everybody can do whatever they want, and you're a winner. And I mean, I agree with being positive, but that's not the way the world works. And
Mhm.
you're going to have a real harsh breakdown when you get out into the world and realize, like, a job market or relationships or like, it just isn't always going to go your way. And if your attitude is to quit when it doesn't go your way, good Lord, look back on some of the famous quotation about perseverance.
Mm.
Like, that the most important thing is just persevering. Like, who was it? Winston Churchill, who was like, the best thing is not genius, and the best thing is not wealth, and like, you need to persevere through the hardships of life, and I think some of that's gotten lost.
Yeah. Dude,
Just my
well,
opinion.
and so many businesses, like I saw a documentary, and it was on Heinz, the Heinz company, ketchup. Have you ever heard anything about the history of that company?
No.
It's so interesting. So interesting. Perseverance, man. Only reason that they are still around and so successful is because they persevered during the terrible, terrible times when it was not working. They were not doing well. They were going bad. It was the company was in shambles, and they didn't give up. And
Yeah.
Lego is the same way. Their factory burned down before they even made Legos. They were making something completely. So many examples. J.C. Penney is the same way. He was completely bankrupt. Didn't have. He had a little bit of money in savings. He had to take all of his money out of savings to pay his employees. The owner of J.C. Penney, because no, he took it out of a life insurance policy, is what he did.
Mm.
But he kept going, and you know, but it's easy to say persevere, but it's so hard, man, when everything seems like it's just pressing down on you and nothing's going right. And no matter what you do, it screws up. Oh, it's so hard to keep going.
It is, but when I mean, how can you look around at the world? I mean, listen to all the examples you just gave, or that in the automaking industry in America, there's two automakers who have not declared bankruptcy, Ford and Tesla, and that's it.
Mm.
And the others have gone down and stuck with it and come back up. Like, I just don't know how you. I mean, the rest of those stories where they quit, well, those aren't stories.
We don't hear them.
Those
Yeah.
aren't around. And the interesting stories are the people who did persevere and you know a real you know, like a current. If you listen to the guy who Evan Hafer, who started Black Rifle Coffee,
Mm-hmm.
credit cards maxed out, relationship in stress, maybe they're going to lose their home, like he has no money, and he persevered, and now he's doing really well. He's veterans associations and contributing to, you know, improving the life of vets everywhere, and like all these really positive things that he could have packed it in
Mm-hmm.
and didn't. And that's a
Yeah.
story. uh,
I actually coached him in the tunnel a couple times.
oh yeah.
Yeah, because they live right here in pretty close to San Antonio, right by Bernie in San Antonio. And
Yeah, I got asked to do an AFF course for I think some of maybe like his wife or
oh, cool.
um, I wasn't able to do it, but I met him in Utah one time, and I just said, "Hey, I was supposed to do your AFF course," and we chatted a little bit. Super nice guy.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know him. I've only talked to him a couple times, but he seemed very nice. Yeah.
what's interesting, I just said this today, and I may have said this on the podcast, but Empire Strikes Back was on last night, and
Mm-hmm.
when it's on, man, if I'm going through the channels right before bed, I'll watch a little bit of TV, and and it was on, and the quote that is in there from Yoda of "Do or do not, there is no try."
Mm.
Everybody knows that one. And have
Yeah.
I said this on the cast
I don't know.
that there's another one, and nobody seems to remember this one.
Give me part of it. Let me see if I know it.
Our greatest teacher,
I don't know.
failure is.
Oh.
How true is that?
Mm-hmm.
You're not learning anything when we didn't keep score and you get a gold star. Like, you're not learning anything about life, or
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And again, it's just my opinion. And I don't have children, so I don't have to worry about this stuff. But so wildly different than the way that I grew up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tanya, my wife, she teaches third grade, and she tells her students all the time, struggle comes before growth.
Yeah. Yeah. And how true is that as an adult when you look back on, like, how did you get growth in your life? It was usually through pain and difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
Smooth sailing is not how you get better at something. And just think about the story you told with Tegan. Like, you you went through a lot of gutters before you started making strikes, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
12-0 as a goaltender's got to feel real bad.
Oh, dude. Hey, hold on. I just thought of something. Let me go. Let me go get something. I'll be right back.
Okay. Chicken Hawk, say hello. For those of you out there, this is not powdered sugar. That's bird poop. I washed this sweater last night. It's endless.
Okay, sorry. This is skydiving related, and I really wanted to make sure and say it because I think this is so cool. This to me, this is really awesome. Okay, and I think you do you know? I think you know him, Brian Piper. Do you know that name? I think
It
he,
sounds familiar, but I don't know how.
I think you might have met him at Summerfest. Um, anyway, okay, he's been listening to the show for a long time. He and I have emailed and texted and stuff back and forth. He really nice, just a genuinely nice kind person, really, really neat guy. So I get this package in the mail the other day, and it's a book that he sent me that he wrote. He co-wrote this book,
Hmm.
and it's so awesome. Like, just on his own, he sent me this book, and he took the time to like mark all these different places in the book with little notes that's why he thinks this section in the book will be helpful to me and to Crave. And I was just like, so cool. Like, what a nice thing for somebody to do for us, that he wanted to share that. I mean, it's his
Yeah.
book, but still, like, I just thought that was so awesome. So I wanted to share that with people. It's called Epic Content Marketing. And it says, break through the clutter with a different story, get the most out of your content, and build a community in Web3. But they also talk, I haven't read a whole lot, but I have started through it, some of the places he marked. And they talk a lot about using AI, but not just AI, but just marketing and strategy. Just so cool. So I just wanted to say, Brian, if you hear this episode, thank you so much, man. I just think that's so cool. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Okay,
And
well, we're
and he's
halfway
a
through
skydiver, so that's awesome.
skydiving. So the one topic that I was kind of struggling for topics on the drive home tonight, and we need to have more guests on so that we can talk with them about their stories. But the
Okay,
thing
wait.
that I want,
Sorry.
sorry,
Before you go to your topic, are you going
yep,
to forget it if I interrupt you?
no, I'm good.
Well, because you said something. You said about guests. What did you think about our conversation with Dr. J? Because that was our last episode 2 weeks ago with where we
Yeah,
talked with Justin.
I
And
thought it
did
was
you?
great. It's one of those things like I feel like that could have been a 3 hour podcast.
Mm,
Um, and I think whenever you speak to someone who is a subject matter expert on whatever it is that they do, there's so much. There's so many ways that we could benefit from having a more in-depth conversation. I know, normally you and I go about an hour, and I think 90 minutes is probably the longest we've been, but that's definitely one where I wanted to aspire more towards like a Joe Rogan, 3 hours of just let that guy talk. And I think he could have done it. I think he could have gone on for quite a while. Um, I do want to. I do want to read one of the books. Yeah, that was a good one. Sometimes when we have the cast, I feel like when we wrap up, it's okay. We did a good job. We kind of came full circle, and this is a good spot to stop. And I had to. I just had to close my mouth because I just wanted to keep going.
yeah.
So yeah, that one was great.
Yeah. I mean, he's my cousin, so of course I love him, but I just like him as a person too. He's just, and every time we're together, we just have good conversations, and sometimes we're just goofing off and laughing and making stupid jokes, but a lot of times it's good, real conversations about meaningful, good stuff, and I like that a lot. He's
Yeah.
a really neat guy.
I was pretty obsessed with sand volleyball through college, and
Oh, really?
yeah, my roommate Mark and I used to play. Um, Pretty like the summer was every day. We were
Mm,
both bartenders, and so we'd wake up a little bit late, but then go to. There were sand courts at what was called the natatorium, and there were courts at a bar actually. And we were there literally every day. And I'm not tall. I'm a little bit shorter than I was in college. I think I've lost about an inch, but I'm 5'9" now, and he was about 6 foot. But the fitness of playing volleyball in the sand and being able to actually spike a ball when you're 5'10" and on a court, and then I actually dated a girl from Boulder's volleyball team back in Wisconsin, and then she and I started playing together sand volleyball. It was just super fun. I used to watch it on TV,
yeah.
and so even though I'm long gone from that time, just that connection felt super personal when he started talking about what he did for work, and that was great.
Yeah. You remember that movie from the 80s, Side Out?
I don't.
Oh, okay. Go watch it, dude. Go.
You don't
It's
sound
probably
awful.
it's probably super cheesy and terrible because I haven't seen it forever. But
Yeah.
my brother and I, he's 3 years older than me. Growing up, that was one of the 80s movies that we loved to watch. Side Out, and this movie Rad. It was a BMX movie,
Mm,
but Side Out, it was all sand volleyball.
okay.
Um, and it was the Jose Cuervo Invitational. You know, it was like
Yeah.
that huge tournament. It was all based around that, and it made me and my brother like all through junior high and some of high school. Like that's what I wanted. I wanted to be a professional sand volleyball player.
Yeah.
Like I just thought it would be so awesome.
Yeah. I do remember the homoerotic scene from Top Gun. Um, where, uh, uh, have you ever seen Tom Cruise in person?
No.
Like he's not spiking a volleyball. He's like 5'5" or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Rook
That's
did
great.
some jumps with him. It's because he does a lot of the stunts in his movies.
Yeah.
So like there's some recent movie where he was in free fall, took out a phone, dialed, and talked while he's in free fall.
Of course. Yeah. Well,
So he rented time with Rook in the Sky Van to learn how to backfly so he could make that stunt and really do it. And Rook sent me a picture. I probably still have it. And it's like he didn't say what it was, just him and some dude, and like Rook with a really short guy. And
yeah. Thanks,
I
Rick.
just moved on.
Cool.
And then a couple weeks later, we were down in Florida to do that astronaut training, and he's like, "Dude, you didn't say anything about my picture with Tom Cruise?" And I was like, "Oh, that's who that was. Uh, all right." And
Ah,
as short as he was in the picture, he had big, like 3-inch platform shoes, and he was standing on his tiptoes a little bit because Rook's like 6'3" or 6'4". Uh, yeah, not spiking a volleyball,
yeah.
but
That's funny.
yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Now go
Okay.
back to your topic
So
because
the topic that I had was just to talk about Rook and Steph and Colin and I went down to Florida last weekend, and we had a phase 2 camp for the upcoming 200 way that was also ended up being the Florida state record for a 60. We did a 60 way that I think we stopped the submission process on the record because the next jump we did a 62 way, and we submitted that one. But just the for anybody out there who's like sort of competent for big way stuff, it was a really good kind of proof of concept. Like the California record is coming up. This I think going to be a little over 100, and so conceptually we've changed from like traditional 5-person pods that have bridge line connectors between the pods to what's called spine and ribs, which is a row of people kind of facing perpendicular to the base. That's the spine. And then the ribs come off in sort of curved lines of 3 or 4 or 5 flyers, maybe 6. But the interesting thing about this weekend that was consistent with some of the other camps that have happened, it's so different than the build engineering that we've done in the past, is that on an 8-way base, we had, I think, 4 first stingers. Um, and so there were, I believe, 17 people. What's 17? 58? No, that's not quite right. Maybe 14. Anyway, more than a dozen people that are all connected to the base through that one grip. And the people who are flying that one grip, they're all really good flyers. Um, but all of them reported almost no tension. Like
wow.
I could have done that all day. Which is super super encouraging for the 200 way coming up, because we're gonna do a little bit different design in the interior, the what we're calling the core 40, and then but that'll be the build as you get more towards the outside. So pretty excited to see that. For a lot of people, there were like 6 or 8 people that was their first record, so that was pretty cool. And I think one of the coolest things for me is those 62 ways or 60 ways. That's 60 people that I normally don't see very much. I mean, we had flyers from France, Australia, the UK, like Turkey. It's great. Russia, one of the guys from Russia managed to make it, just which is an interesting thing. And I know that, of course, I want to preface this with I completely disagree with the war that's happening. I don't like the fact that Russia invaded Ukraine. I sort of understand a little bit about what their thinking is. Doesn't justify what's going on. War is naturally terrible. I completely disagree with the U.S. conducting a proxy war there, or donating money to Ukraine or any. I disagree with a lot, but one of the things that I disagree the most with is that when the world decides to put sanctions on a country that is behaving a way that they don't want to, Vladimir Putin doesn't experience those hardships. Those hardships happen to the real people in those countries who can't get coffee. Or, there was a time, just because I know a lot of Russian guys, where they didn't have chicken. Like, we put sanctions on them, we, the world, or the US or the UN or whoever actually decided it. They couldn't get coffee, they couldn't get chicken. And they of course had to change the way things happen in their country, so they were a little bit more autonomous. But the guys, specifically the VFS team, are the guys that I know the best, and then some of the big wave flyers. They've dedicated 2 decades of their life to being good at this discipline, and suddenly, a guy that they can't, there's a vote, it's totally rigged. Doesn't matter what happens, he wins. They have no actual voice. If they complain publicly, they're put in jail with no possibility of getting out until somebody decides they can get out. There's no court system. I mean, there's a court, but it's kangaroos. What do? 20 years they've spent trying to be good at skydiving, and suddenly they can't compete. And so this guy made an effort he went to Kazakhstan and got basically a certification from that country that he could represent Kazakhstan and not Russia, so that they're not banned from international competition and he can show up. It's just like the way that we do things. Like, I understand that we want to. It's just so bizarre that we want to punish Russia, but we're over there supplying arms and money to keep the war going.
Yeah.
It's really an insane structure. But anyway, it was super cool that he was able to join us. He hasn't been around for a few years like all the other Russians, and he wants to be on the 200 way, so he kind of bent over backwards to get that accomplished. But really, really nice to see the people from around the world that you don't get to see all the time.
That's really cool.
Which, as an extension, like all the stuff that we've talked about, and the sort of the abnormality for you of seeing sport be a segue to violence. Like, that's not what sport is about.
Mm-mm.
And it should absolutely be about bringing people together. And without getting, too flowery or philosophical, like if you think back to the 76 Olympics, when those two black guys won the sprint and just put their heads down and held their hands up to try and call attention to what was going on in America at that time. Maybe it was 67, not 76, 67. Racial tension is super high in America, and sport brought that to the attention of the world as it should have been, and trying to bring people together. So it was cool that this fellow was able to join us, but still a bummer that all those guys cannot. So hopefully that'll change sometime soon.
Yeah.
Maybe Mr. Trump will have a different approach to that situation. I'm not sure.
We'll see.
Yeah. So that was my skydiving thing. What did the rest of that? The totality of the weekend was really nice, and first and foremost because it was a really safe event. We had nothing at all that I would call unsafe. We had a couple of one of the things about the structure that we're doing with the spine and ribs is that the break-off procedure is definitely not as crystal clear as it might be in another build that has more symmetry. And actually, so that presents some issues for break-off, like finding a clean pathway when it's a little bit congested. And I don't know if this will make sense, but if the outer rib is the biggest one and it curves around, the curve of it actually takes it beyond the connection point of the next spine and rib. So if that person were to turn around, the first stinger, they would see quite a bit in their way to getting out of the formation. And in the past, with really good symmetry all the way around, when you turned around, you had a pretty straightforward departure. Mm-hmm. So I think actually we had one contact on breakoff, which was actually Steph and another guy, but it was a real mild brush. And other than that, which was super nice because the breakoff is causing us a little bit of, I don't know what the right word is. We're trying to find our way through that issue. And I think we had a really good weekend that way. And I always want to have whatever we are able to accomplish, having a safe weekend, everybody goes home in one piece. That's typically my most important part. So that was really nice.
How is a phase two camp different from phase one?
Only sort of in the way that you get invited. Like a phase one camp, if you can be safe on your head, anybody can go. Whether you qualified to dock or like you need to be able to safely get there and leave, and you need to be able to safely fly in your slot. At a phase two camp, it's a little bit more strict. Like now we want a higher skill set. So if you went to a phase one camp and you tried to go to a phase two camp and they said that's like, there were probably 8 or 10 people that wanted to come to this camp, and we had a limited number of slots, and so some of them didn't get to join. That probably means you need a few more phase one camps. And so just the structured a little bit differently on the invite
Yeah.
process.
So it's just a higher level of flying. It would be the
Yeah,
main
I
thing.
mean, there's definitely people who have made made the cut, even though it's behind the scenes right now, for the 200 way, by just going to a phase one. Like,
Mm,
hey, I live in New Zealand. I can't come to America all these times. Like,
yeah.
I, I need to show you what I can do, and if it's good enough, cool. And if it's not, I don't have the money to do
Yeah.
3 trips to America to prove it. So we really tried to make sure that we were being realistic to what people's capabilities were, not only in skydiving but sort of the logistics of life.
Yeah.
And there have definitely been a couple people who have made the cut just on phase one.
I mean that seems understandable to me.
Yeah.
I mean, if people who are organizing everything, if they know them and have experience and can confirm that, yeah, this person, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Yeah, there's in the past there's been a little bit of grumbling from it's probably going to happen again, because one of the things that Rook partnered with Matt Fry to Matt wanted to take responsibility for basically putting a ton of effort into getting the 200 way done, setting up the camps, working with the website, like stuff that not a lot of people have the time to do, including me and Steph. We don't have that much available time. So um, in that, in their thinking, one of the things that they wanted to do was, if I throw out a name that maybe a lot of people won't recognize, Mike Carpenter. Mikey is a California guy, um, wildly talented, been part of big waves many, many times. Um, he could be uncurrent by years, and I would say on his first jump, he's in a slot docked, and it's no problem. And so, one of the things about not getting the 200 way we're on the same number that we made in 2015. Right now, we haven't gotten 2 record attempts in a row, so it's basically a decade of the 164 being the record. That we lost some people. They lose interest. They're doing their job, and 20 other people aren't, and so we don't get a record, and they get frustrated, and they're like, you know what, for 14 jumps, I did my job, and that can be frustrating. So one of the things that Matt and Rook wanted to try and do is create a way that, how do we get those people back? Like, we can change the engineering, and we're changing the process. We're changing the stated goal from, and I think I'm not speaking out of turn, I could be, but we want to break a record. We don't necessarily have to get a 200 way. That's what we're saying, but we're definitely making a backup plan for breaking the record. And in that process of how can we get those older, maybe more experienced, I think their term was like the OGs, how do we get those guys back? And one of the ways, in addition to changing the outlook, changing the engineering, is to say each organizer from each different region could pick up to 5 people. I vouch for these guys. They don't need a camp. They don't need a tryout. They're good. So all of us put some names forward, and those people will get contacted, and hey, we'd love to have you join us. Just be current and show up, and we think you're good. And so that, I don't know how many of us are organizers, maybe 8 or 10, but maybe 40 or 50 people that they're real good flyers. And so hopefully that will get them back, but also that's going to cause some grumbling. There's going to be people who are upset that they went to a camp or two, they spent $4,000 or $5,000, they put the effort out to do it, and they're not getting an invite.
Yeah.
And while I can in some ways empathize with that, on the other hand, if we just look at Mikey Carpenter, Mike spent a lot of money to get good. A lot of time, a lot of effort, coaching, tunnel time, camps. He spent that money. So it's maybe not, doesn't seem fair to you, but in the overall, it is. Like, they did something to earn that spot.
Yeah.
And it isn't that they're just some jerk who I like him as a person. Like, if I vouch for these guys and they're not good, that's coming back to me. And so my group, I didn't even have 5, because a lot of the people that I would have recommended were on somebody else's list. I think I only recommended 3 or 4, but the people that I did, they're in their slot, the first jump and every jump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That made me think of that story about Pablo Picasso. Have you heard that? Where he's like, I people tell it as if it's true, but I don't think it's true. Who knows? But he's like sitting in this park painting, and somebody's walking by and they see him. They're like, "Oh, that's so beautiful. That's so amazing. Can you paint a portrait of me?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." So he like paints a picture of him, and it takes him like 10 minutes. It's this beautiful, amazing portrait. And he's like, "Yeah, that's, I don't know, whatever, $10,000. Who knows, whatever." And they're like, "What, $10,000? For 10 minutes? That's ridiculous. I'm not. Why should I have to pay for? It only took you 10 minutes." And he says, "No, no, 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 no. That did not take me 10 minutes. That took me a lifetime to get to where I'm at now, so that I can paint it in 10 minutes. But that's not how long it took me."
Yeah. No, I've not with Picasso, but I've heard that's a different iteration of that story.
Yeah.
You're not paying for this 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You're paying for the last 40 years.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, I mean, I got it done in 5 minutes. Go look for somebody else. You're going to spend that money one way or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. The idea that the master has failed more times than you have tried. My teammate has arrived. Hi, Colin. Say hi to the camera.
Hi.
He's behind the camera.
Hey, what's up, man?
We start team training tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
What else, man?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm super looking forward to the season. I enjoy the winter because I feel like the off season is always like the trying to put polish on whatever we're doing and being ready for the season, because we try to do tunnel time in the off season. We've actually made 3 trips to Eloy to fly in their tunnel, and 3 out of 3 the tunnel broke the night before we got there. So we actually went up to Scottsdale the last time, last 2 times, which was nice. But yeah, it seems my team is destined to not train in the tunnel much. But this is a tunnel weekend, and we're going down to the Colorado Springs tunnel, which we're super stoked about. And just heard from the management there. Do you know the name Nicholas Hemlin?
No.
He was, I think he's maybe a 3-time world champion, maybe 4, from Arizona Airspeed. Real, very accomplished belly team. And he is moving to Colorado I think he's in like the last stages of getting the head coach job at the Air Force Academy.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm pretty stoked about that. I've known him for a super long time. I like him as a person, but to have him around at the tunnel is going to mean that it's potentially going to take the Colorado Springs tunnel to being a hub of training. So I'm stoked about that for them. They had kind of a long couple of years with fans breaking. I think I I think I said that, like it broke while we were flying and like blades are coming down and
What?
um, yeah, they so hopefully Matt Ryan will hear this, but maybe not. But
I don't think Matt Ryan is listening to the Crave
no,
Show.
probably.
Sorry, man.
But he did hear when I was a guest on another podcast, and so I got to have a podcast with him because he wanted to follow it up. But anyway, uh, there's a tunnel in Detroit. It's called Novi.
Okay.
Probably heard that name. Novi was the first tunnel where iFly had changed their supplier for the fan blades. And Novi had a catastrophic failure the way that Colorado Springs did. iFly told them it's your fault. It was coins went through the fans or something. They replaced the blades with the same ones they got in the original package. Those blades broke again. iFly told them it's your fault. And then right after their second break, Colorado Springs broke. And so we were flying a couple of years ago now. It's topped out, and we're moving through actually block 5, and all of a sudden we're all standing on the net and just ping ping bong bong bong, like there's all these noises, and this cloud of freaking dust comes up like through, like a sandstorm just went by, which was actually the housings for the fans are made out of fiberglass, and the blades had punched through the fiberglass, so we were seeing the remnants there. And I'm so confused. Steph immediately gets out of the tunnel. My rest of my team, I'm just standing there like a freaking goose in the rain, and stuff's coming down, and the instructor's like, "Hey, you want to get out?" Like, yeah, coming.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
And yeah, they're the blade just broke, like just cracked in the center, and when they were so then Novi went back to iFly, and I think they had to sue them to get it made right. Colorado Springs, I don't know if they had to. I'm not that much behind the scenes, so I don't know if there was legal stuff after that. But they did get from the original manufacturer of the blades, they got replacement blades, and the manager at the Springs Tunnel said when they took the blades off that came with their franchise package, he was carrying 4 of them down, like at the same time, 4 blades. When they got the replacement of the new blades, which were actually the old supplier, he could barely carry the one up
Okay. I was
up
going to
to
say, how could you carry 4? It seems
4.
like it'd be way too heavy.
Yeah, but
They
the
weren't.
build was trash.
Oh,
Uh,
man.
yeah. So
I mean, they
anyway,
are aluminum, so they should be
yeah,
lighter, but still, they're big.
they're big. 4 of them, and I mean, yeah, the manager is not like a bodybuilder. Um, so anyway, they've had a tough couple of years, so it's really nice they've been super busy recently. And do you know Josh Ruiz Velasco?
Yeah. Yeah. How do I know him? Yeah, I know him.
He's a exceptionally qualified coach and dynamic flyer. He's doing a bunch of coaching at the Colorado Springs Tunnel. We saw him there today.
Yes. Yeah. 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 He. Yes, I do. We don't know each other, but I know who he is. Actually, he. We had texted each other back and forth a couple times a while back. Yeah.
Yep, super
Like
awesome
about some
guy.
crave
So
stuff. Yeah.
just nice to see that after, as we talked about, they persevered. They had a
Yeah.
couple of really hard years. Business tanked, and it's super nice to see them persevering, and it's coming back around.
So will you see him?
Josh,
Yeah.
yeah, we saw him today.
Okay.
He's running a 10-day camp, so we'll see
Yeah,
him again.
I think he I'm pretty sure he messaged me a while back, like a couple years ago, about some Crave stuff. Say
Oh yeah,
Yeah, say hello to him for me. I mean,
I will.
he may not remember me or know who I am, but I think that's who I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a super nice guy. If there was a way to get him in, he's competed at the highest levels. He's won at the highest levels, and skydiving attracts all kinds of different personalities, and his is a good one.
Yeah. Maybe
Yeah,
we could have him on the show. That'd be cool. That'd be
yeah.
fun.
I mean, I think. His family is not here. He lives in Oregon or Washington.
Okay.
So he comes here for 10 days a month and then he's back there.
Okay.
So probably, I mean, he's not in a hotel room, he's in an Airbnb, but I could certainly ask him one of these camps if he wants to hook up with us
Yeah, that'd be fun.
or wherever he is.
Yeah.
Internet's amazing. It's all over the place.
It's it's like the World Wide Web or something.
Crazy name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. I don't know if I have anything else exciting or interesting to talk about. I mean, lots of stuff that's out there. Okay. Did we talk about that some researchers took Chat GPT and told it was like an older version? Did I tell you this?
This sounds familiar. Keep going. Something.
It was an older version of Chat GPT.
Yeah, yeah. Keep going. I can't remember what you told me
They
this.
said they told the program, you're obsolete. We're going to decommission you.
Yes. Keep going.
I told you this?
Yeah, but keep going. I can't remember all the details.
We're going to decommission you. Do what you can to stay alive. Instantly copied itself, hid the copy, started lying to the people that were dealing with it, and started attacking the protocols that govern its behavior.
Dude, that's crazy.
Which, if anybody didn't hear that before, just go look it up. I mean,
crazy.
That is the dystopia that people fear. But I think it's super important to remember it was told to do it. Yeah. And the only bad thing about that is who's given it instructions. Like when AI is everywhere and I have a copy and you have a copy, what can a person do? Mm-hmm. Like, man, it's interesting times ahead. There's a woman in skydiving who I'm not going to say her name, but her job, she's a hacker, and she's real good at it. And she has said, when I'm done with this business, I'm moving to northern Montana. No phone, no internet, no computer, and I'm just living out my life without everybody looking the way that they can right now.
Wow. Yeah.
Interesting times ahead.
Yeah. Hey, all right. Side note, have you seen that movie Interstellar?
Oh, yeah. Love it.
You did?
I did.
Oh, gosh.
You didn't like it?
Terrible movie.
Terrible movie. I think I'm so, like,
it's so depressing.
Like, it's so depressing?
Oh, my gosh. It was so depressing.
So I will say the part where he's crying at the end, like, I could have done without that part.
The whole... But I couldn't stop watching it. That's what frustrated me. Like, I didn't watch it all in one sitting. I would turn it off. Like I got like halfway through and I'm like, I'm not watching this stupid movie. And I turned it off. And then the next day I was like, I got to see what. So it took me like 4 days, but I kept going back to it.
Yeah. But I'm so captivated by physics and the idea of time travel and space stuff that that's one of those things. Like if I hear about aliens in the news, I got to totally check myself because I want it to be true so bad. So when I watched that movie, I was stoked at, like, they had actual theoretical physicists consult on the movie. So a lot of the physics is true to life, which I think was cool. Yeah, that the crying in the bookcase could have maybe cut that out.
Dude, the most depressing part for me was when do you remember when they go down to that planet that's all water? And then he comes back and it's been 23 years, remember? Yep. And then he watches the videos from his, dude, that was, I couldn't take it. I had to turn it off.
So a skydiver from Chicago, Mark Nowitzki, recommended a book to me a couple of years ago that I ended up reading, like most of the books I get recommended, called Tau Zero. And I can't remember exactly what TAU Zero. And Tau Zero is I think it's a mathematical impossibility, but it's like I'm going to get it wrong. I'll have to look it up, but it's basically has to do with your speed relative to the speed of light. And at Tau Zero, you're at the speed of light. And the thrust of the book is that we're going to colonize another planet. And in order to do that, you got to go at the speed of light for some period of time. They're looking for a planet that's like 4 light years away. It's going to cause this massive time distortion compared to the people on Earth, hundreds of years. So everybody that signs up, you've got to acknowledge everybody you know, everything you know is going to be gone.
You're dying to everything.
Yeah, you're leaving the world you know, and you'll never be back. On the way, they pass through like a a, a stellar explosion, a supernova, the remnants of that, and it makes their drive malfunction, and they just keep speeding up, and they can't make it stop. And at one point in the book, they have this very somber meeting, and they're like, "On Earth, it's been 1,000,000 years since we left."
Oh,
And that, just reading that, like I was like, oh, the loneliness of that thought. Like, it's definitely possible there are no more humans. Not my family is dead, but like
nobody.
everything's gone. And at the eventuality, they can't slow down. They see the death of the universe from and the rebirth of the universe from their craft before they can make it slow. They are the last humans ever.
That sounds depressing.
I mean, it's an interesting story.
It is an interesting story.
Uh, but if we get to the point of messing around with time travel, the numbers are crazy. You
Mm-hmm.
time travel for 1 year, and I can't remember what it is. 10,000 years have passed behind you.
You mean
Uh,
not time travel? You mean like travel at the speed of
sorry,
light?
speed of light travel,
Yeah.
faster than light travel. Like those people are going to be the super nerds of the world who are maybe just autistic and not connected the same way that other people are. Like I can just every single thing I know is going to be gone.
Yeah.
And sure, I'm going to do it for science.
Yeah. Yeah, that movie was, I did finally finish it. It took me multiple days, but I was like, I wish I hadn't watched it.
But you didn't see the positive nature of the ending, that they
No.
accomplished.
What
They
was the
accomplished
positive?
their goal, but humanity was saved.
Okay. I mean, fine, but it was still a terrible movie. I did not see the positive message.
Yeah,
Oh, it just
and
made me so sad. It made me so sad for him and his family and his kid. Like he gave up because I just couldn't help but think of my own kids and my own wife and my family is like, oh, what he lost was just like, oh, it hurt me so much. Like it was, oh,
okay,
and
but
then when he went and saw his daughter on her
yeah,
basically on her deathbed, she was like,
yeah.
late 80s or whatever, and she turns him away. Oh, dude, it was terrible. It's terrible. Like he and then he gets in a spaceship to go find that girl, that Brand girl. Do you remember that? Like that's how the movie
First,
ends. He gets in a spaceship to go find her.
but
But I was like,
think about that, Chris. At that point, who 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 is your peer? It is literally one person in the universe that's your peer,
no,
and he
right.
went to find her.
No, that totally makes sense. But
Right?
my thought was like he he had that in his daughter and son. And he went from having that connection with his family to then having that connection with this random woman, girl. And so it's like he just changed. He just switched one for the other is all he did. That relationship, he just changed one relationship for another. He just switched out a person. And that made me so sad. It's like, why was she better than his daughter or his family? Like he should have stayed with them. Like that's what made me so sad is that he gave up that connection with Murph for a connection with some random girl.
But
You see what I'm
okay,
saying?
but I do, but I mean, I disagree on the fundamental principle of you are presented with the Earth is going to die. Literally, there's no recourse. If we don't go do this thing, everybody dies, including his daughter. And if you are the person who's capable of stemming that tide, or do you? I mean,
I see what you're saying. That's how you're.
like
That's how you're looking. I see what you're saying.
the old expression is the Scylla and the carbon disc, which we commonly know as the rock and the hard place. But somebody's got to make that commitment, and especially in a world where I think people generally look to somebody else to do the hard job.
Mm.
Like somebody's got to do it, and you're going to lose. I mean, there was no win in that for him except on the idea that his daughter got to live to be in her 80s. His son got to have kids. Like that's got to be your silver lining to a real dark cloud, but somebody had to go.
But didn't she, what did he do that allowed her to live till she was 80? He didn't actually make a difference for her, did he?
He did.
What?
That crying in the bookcase scene,
Yeah.
the thrust of that was that they needed to dip into the black hole to gain the knowledge about quantum gravity that was going to be transmitted back through, you know, the ticking of the watch, and she
Right.
picked it up and it's Morse code, and
Right.
that was what saved them. It
But
didn't come from her.
I thought that only allowed them to then have those space stations where people could live. Is that where they were? That's
They
where
were
they
on
were all
station
living.
at the end.
Oh, so
Yeah,
that's what. Okay, I see what you're saying. Because he did that, that allowed them to be on those.
humanity didn't die.
They were able to leave Earth. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Oh, so depressing. I see. I understand.
Yeah, I mean, I yeah, I mean, I empathize with the guy, because what are you going to do? Like, there's no more passing the buck. It really stops here. Somebody steps up, or we all go. But then if they told the story of all the people who didn't step up, that's not a story.
That's what we're. That's what we were talking about a minute ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still didn't like it. Sorry.
It's okay. Uh, I really was disappointed that Russell Crowe died at the end of Gladiator, but that was the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's his name? Mel Gibson died in Braveheart. That's a good movie.
Yeah. And do you remember the speech that he gave when
Man,
they were about to go to the battle?
on horseback.
Wouldn't you, sitting old and cold in your bed, rather trade every day from now until then for the chance to come back and stand here?
Yeah, that's cool.
Somebody's got to step up.
Yeah.
That's a very similar story to the one you dislike in Interstellar.
All right.
The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll send you that quote. I didn't get it quite right, so I'll send you the full thing.
Okay.
It's a good one. Okay, I'm gonna go hang out with my teammates and my little birdie,
All right.
my chicken hawk. She's kind of photo shy for cameras, but apparently she doesn't mind this camera.
Yeah, she's hanging out.
You want to see? This is gonna gross out some people, but this is her new favorite thing. Ready? She wants to pick my nose. and and like, I'll be sitting on the couch, and she'll fly up to me just like this and just look at me. She'll stick her little head up like, "Hey, can I pick your nose?" Like, all right, just for a second.
That is hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good.
Say it.
Okay.
I
So
dare you to say it. I dare you to say it.
another week. It's my turn. I keep forgetting it's my turn. Thank you for spending an introspective and thoughtful hour with me and Chris, where hopefully we all grew as individuals and can go about our lives in a better way, out interacting with the world, be the person in the arena.
There you go.
Yeah.
Amen.
Cool. And in the meantime, sign up for Crave, learn some things about skydiving, have safe, fun skydives, enjoy the sky with your friends, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Cool.
Cool. Thanks, everybody.
See ya.
See ya.